यस्त्यक्त्वा रूपमाद्यं प्रभवति जगतः अनेकधा अनुग्रहाय प्रक्षीणक्लेशराशिः विषमविषधरः अनेकवक्त्रः सुभोगी सर्वज्ञानप्रसूतिः भुजगपरिकरः प्रीतये यस्य नित्यं देवो हीशः स वो व्यात् सितविमलतनुः योगदो योगयुक्तः योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिं श्रीमते अनन्ताय नागराजाय नमो नमः। पातञ्जलमहाभाष्य चरकप्रतिसंस्कृतैः मनोवाक्कायदोषाणां हर्त्रे अहिपतये नमः। ततः प्रत्यक्षेतन अधिगमः अपि अंतरायाः अभावः च. So we are in the first chapter of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, where he is discussing about one of the tools of yoga, that is called Ishvara Pranidhana, where we are having a relationship with the divine. And in the last week we discussed about the method that Patanjali is presenting, which is he is saying that we have to use the procedure of mantras in order to relate with the divine, and we also explored about how the mantras have to be used. It is not just used repeated like a parrot, but more it is recited with the feeling of what the mantra is meaning, and we saw why this is the case, and we discussed all this last time. Now we have a saying in India which is called prayojanam api anuddhishya moodhopi na pravartate. If you are not giving any benefits, even a fool will not move forward, he will not take a step forward, because we all are living in an era where we need some benefits and then we are doing something. So Patanjali is saying, what is the benefits of doing such a mantra japa, such a relationship with Ishvara? What is the relationship that we have with Ishvara, and what is the benefit of such a relationship? This is very, very interesting. At the same time, it can also be taken a little bit controversial. Patanjali presents this sutra, tataha pratyakchetana api adhigamaha api antaraya abhavaha cha. Tataha, as a consequence of what? As a consequence of mantra japa, or as a consequence of Ishvara Pranidhana through mantra japa. That means as a consequence of relating with the divine through repetition of mantras, there are two benefits that are presented. Pratyakchetana adhigamaha, the first benefit, and antarayaha abhavaha cha. The two benefits that Patanjali is presenting are very extraordinary. The first thing he says is there is a realization of oneself. Pratyakchetana adhigamaha. The word adhigamaha means to move towards, but also in this context it means a realization or some kind of manifestation of what? Pratyakchetana. Pratyakchetana means the consciousness that is within us. In the yoga philosophy and in the Sankhya philosophy, we are all made up of two entities. One is called Purusha, one is called Prakriti. Purusha is the consciousness that we have, Prakriti is the matter, the body, the mind, etc. These are all the material parts that are made up of apparently what is called the 5 elements, and then the 3 gunas, 5 elements which are made up of the 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. But then there is also another entity which is inside us, that is what is called as the Purusha, which is beyond the matter, beyond the body. It is the observer, it is the consciousness. In English we can call this as the self with a capital S. Now Patanjali is presenting something remarkable. He says you have a relationship with God, you will realize yourself. This is what makes yoga also very universal and not necessarily as a religion. Patanjali is not saying if you have a relationship with God, you will go to heaven, you will be blessed and you will go to heaven. Patanjali does not present this. What Patanjali says is very simple. You have a relationship with the divine, you will understand yourself, you will realize yourself. There is what is called the self-realization, that is what is called Pratyakchetana adhigamaha. So, this is the first benefit that Patanjali is presenting. We will come to that in a moment. But he presents this as a consequence of mantra japa or Ishvara pranidhana through mantra japa, the concept of tataha. The tataha means then, as a consequence. Now, it does not mean that okay, we are doing some mantras in the morning and evening we are having self-realization. This is a long term practice of mantra japa. Acharya Krishnamacharya explains bhavana sahita sampradayika mantra japa abhyasa. That means you have to follow the mantra japa, which is according to the classical procedure. Sampradayika means that which follows the conventional rules, and that which also has the bhavana sahita, means with the visualization of what the mantras are representing. Today we are all reciting mantras from the lips, but we are not meaning what the mantra is saying. So, we have to have that, plus you have to follow certain procedures that you have to practice for a long period of time. Until you receive what is called mantra siddhi. Mantra siddhi means success in mantras. When we are initiated to a mantra by the teacher, it is called mantra upadesha. We are first taught the mantra by the teacher along with the procedure of how to do the mantra in our daily practice. That we practice over a period of time. Then we eventually, after many months, maybe many years in some cases, we achieve what is called mantra siddhi. When that mantra siddhi has happened, that is when this word tataha becomes relevant, the consequence happens. So, tataha does not mean I do 12 rounds of Gayatri mantra in the morning, so by afternoon I should have self-realization. We are not, it is not such a quick thing. We are living in a digital era where everything is very quick, and this is not really that quick. We are not living in an era where things are so fast. Especially in the spiritual dimension, it takes a little bit more time than sending an email or sending an SMS, etc., which are instantaneous. But self-realization is a long-term procedure. Then Tataha, therefore, means then as a consequence of long term practice according to the procedures, not casual practice that we do one day something and then another day something else. We are following a procedure, plus we are doing, like earlier we discussed in the first chapter a little bit earlier, Nairantarya, the practice should also not be interrupted. Many times we are interrupted, we start something then we stop, we start something then we stop, we start something then we stop. That is not really called a sadhana or an abhyasa. In the yoga terms, in the yoga schools, they say abhyasa is something that is not interrupted, we have to do it every day. Acharya Krishnamacharya used to say this, that suppose you start practice for let us say 10 days, and then you stop for 1 or 2 days, and then you start from the 13th or the 14th day, it does not mean your practice starts having the effect of the 13th or 14th day. It means the 13th or the 14th day becomes 0 again. Means you have to start from scratch once again. That is what is the meaning of the word Nairantarya that Patanjali presents earlier. So, when such a practice of mantra japa is done, then you will have the self realization. The word also is very interesting, adhigamaha. That means you go near and suddenly you realize yourself. The self realization, the Purusha, cannot be understood intellectually, cannot be understood by the mind. The self realizes itself. That is why the word is pratyakchetana adhigamaha. Like a young child, or in the case, in more recent case, our new young cat in our office. Now, they are running around, they do not know who they are able to see outside world. But at one point they come and stand in front of the mirror and suddenly they look and they think it is another entity. It takes them a little while to realize that it is themselves. That is the point where the child or the animal then realizes that that is itself, it is not somebody else. Now, the same thing happens for the concept of self realization through the practice of mantra, through the practice of abhyasa of all the other angas of yoga as well. The mind becomes more and more clean, that at some point it becomes as clean like a mirror. That the mind is reflecting the projection of the self. So, the self realizes itself. It is like the self is standing in front of the mirror. That is the moment of self realization. That is what the mantra is supposed to do. The mantra, like last time I said to you, is a process of removing the toxins in the body, in the human structure, in the mind structure, etc. So that the structure becomes more and more clean, that it becomes like a very clean mirror, which is having the capacity of reflection. Then we realize ourselves. So, we cannot really grasp after the consciousness, we have to wait for that to reveal itself. We have to wait for it to reveal itself. Many times you can see this in nature. The more you chase a butterfly, the more difficult it is to actually take a photograph of it, because it starts running away. Whereas you go to a place where there is lot of flowers and wait for a moment, it is possible that some of the butterflies that are hanging around will come near you when you are very quiet, when you are very silent. That is what also happens. The more we are chasing the consciousness, the more further away it goes. That is why there is even a saying in the Vedic culture that the more you are addicted to what is called understanding the Purusha, what sometimes people have, which is called as a spiritual addiction, the further away they are from actually spirituality, because they are chasing this consciousness. It is not going to happen. You have to wait for that to happen by quietening the mind, not by becoming aggressive to run after the consciousness. That is also a problem. That is why the word is very powerful, adhigamaha. You go inside and it realizes, it self realizes itself. Now, there is many layers here also we have to understand. Why is Patanjali saying that there is self realization through mantra and not God realization? It is very important for us to understand, and there are many layers of meaning for this. Now, there are 2 or 3 dimensions to this. One is perhaps a speculation of mine, which may be completely wrong. The concept of Vedanta philosophy came after Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, because in the evolution of the 6 darshanas, the Vedanta darshana came afterward. Patanjali was presenting the concept of Ishvara as a teacher, not Ishvara as the God, the creator, the sustainer, the destroyer, etc. He presents Ishvara as a teacher of knowledge, a knowledge source. So, perhaps this is one reason, because in Yoga and Sankhya school, knowing the Purusha is very critical, more important. This is what is emphasized, because Patanjali relies very strongly on Sankhya philosophy, and Sankhya does not have Ishvara. Sankhya presents the Purusha and Prakriti, and Sankhya says when you are out of dukkham, it is that moment when there is the clear understanding and the experience of what is Purusha and what is Prakriti. So, it could be a simple reason like that, that Patanjali is just following the Sankhya philosophy, and therefore he presents that you will realize yourself even though you are relating with the divine. This is one possible theory. But there is also another possible interpretation which is also significant, and very often we have to understand, which makes more sense, and it is justified also from the point of view of the Vedanta school as well. From the point of view of this explanation, it is because we cannot measure or understand, we cannot have a God realization in this form. We cannot have God realization in this form. This is the concept here. Why? And many acharyas are explaining this. Ramanujacharya is a classical acharya who presents the divine as with great adjectives. One of the adjectives he is using is called Mahodadhi, which means the great ocean. The divine is like an ocean, it is immeasurable, it is everywhere, it is immeasurable. Now, suppose you take a container, a bucket, you can measure one bucket full of water, it can hold one bucket full of water. But can it hold the ocean in that bucket? No, it is not possible. The same is true with us. Our mind, our body is a container that can hold the Jivatma, that can understand and grasp the self, but it cannot grasp the divine, because the divine is Ananta, infinite. How can something which is very finite hold something that is infinite? It is not possible. That is why from that perspective we never have a God realization. We only have what is called Ishvara Samanakara Jnanam. We have God like realization, we do not have God realization. It is a very subtle difference. We have what is called, it is possible for us to have what is called Purusha Sakshatkaram. We are able to have the realization of the self. When you look in the mirror, we can see ourselves, but we cannot see something infinite. So, we have a God at the highest level of our evolution. We can have what is called as Samanakara Jnanam, something like God like perception, but not God realization, God like realization, but not God realization. According to the school of acharyas who present this view, they say that the God realization happens when the time we shed our human body, because human body is very limited. And if you have done all the right steps, perhaps the Jivatma at that moment when it is separate from the body is able to have the experience of the divine and becomes one with the divine. That is what is called qualified non-dualism, Visishta Advaita Darshana. As long as we are having the experience of human body, we are separated from the divine, because we cannot hold this the container cannot hold this infinite source. But at the moment we are dying, it is like the river merging back into the ocean. There is no separation between ocean and the river at that moment. Until then the river is separate from the ocean. So, until the moment the river joins the ocean, there are two entities. When the river merges into the ocean, there is only one. That is why it is called Visishta Advaita philosophy, Visishta Advaita. So, this is one explanation why they are saying that we can never have God realization. That is why Patanjali is presenting, you will realize the self. Self realization is possible. So, this is a big area of debate and contention for a lot of people, controversial, because Patanjali says even if you relate with Ishvara, the best you can have is self realization, not God realization. So, this is a very controversial topic in the Vedic schools and Vedic discussions that have happened in the many commentaries, etc., because some people are saying, they are quoting the testimony of the Vedas, which says if you are chanting mantras, you will have communion or union with God. Whereas Patanjali is saying, no, no, you will not have communion with God, you will not have union with God, you will have a self realization, that is it. So, there is a lot of discussion here, and we have to understand that what Patanjali presents makes sense. Even if we are realizing ourselves, that is good enough, that is extraordinary, because very often we do not even do that. And according to Sankhya and Yoga school, when self realization happens, we are free, we are enlightened. It's not we do not have to wait for the realization of the divine. That is the school of Vedanta. Whereas in Sankhya school and Yoga school, which are very, very close, if you realize yourself, that is already one step closer to the concept of enlightenment, because that Viveka is what is the tool for Kaivalyam, freedom. So, that is why the first benefit of the mantra japa, first benefit of Ishvara Pranidhana through mantra japa is the realization of oneself. This is extraordinary. The second benefit is even more fascinating. Api antaraya abhavaha cha, also api, also. You do not have just one benefit, you have two benefits. Antarayaha abhavaha cha. Antarayas are obstacles. We have a lot of obstacles in our life. Obstacles are no more manifesting in your life. You are free from obstacles. This is what Patanjali says. When you are practicing mantra, the obstacles disappear. No, it is a great thing to imagine. Oh wow, all the obstacles will disappear, I will be free. When you understand this a bit more deeper, then you understand a lot of dimensions about this. The first thing is, what is the source of obstacles? Suppose we have to go to a class and we leave from our house. There is a huge tree that has fallen on the street because of our rains. So, it has blocked our path to go to the class. So, is the tree the obstacle? We can ask this question. According to the school of yoga, the tree is not the obstacle, it is your attitude that is the obstacle. Because you can always find another road to go towards your class, you do not have to just follow one road. There is always another way. So, find that other way. find that other way, then the obstacles are removed. Whereas what prevents us to find this way is what is within us. So, obstacles according to the yoga school is never outside. In India we are so experts in obstacles. The moment there is even a little cloud, there does not have to even be rain, it just cloud, people will cancel all the appointments because it is going to rain, sir. Sorry sir, I cannot come today, it is going to rain. But it is not even raining, it will rain. If it rains, I will be caught in traffic, sir, I will get wet, I will do this. So, where is the obstacle? Is the rain the obstacle, or is it our attitude of laziness, alasya, laziness? Lot of times we have to do self-reflection. What is the source of obstacles? That is why the word itself is antaraya. Part of the word antaraya is anta. Anta means inside. One of the meanings is anta means inside. But antaraya also means that which stops the journey. Anta means to cut, to end. Journey, it stops the journey of moving on. Something that prevents us from moving on. That is why we have to evaluate. That is why we have to evaluate. If you look at the river that is flowing, there is an obstacle for the river. The river does not stop flowing. It finds another way. It finds another way. If somebody builds a dam, okay, it stops. But then it still keeps trying to push. Suppose there is not the possibility to go backward, it will create enough pressure that the dam breaks. So, the river will not stop trying, it will keep pushing. That is the same thing we have to do. The prana is our river, it has to keep flowing. So, the obstacle is inside us, the obstacle is not outside. When there is self-realization, that is what happens. Our actions are driven by the self, not by mind or senses or body. That is what creates obstacles. Mind creates the obstacle, body creates the obstacle. One of the obstacles Patanjali presents is disease, vyadhi, disease. People consider that as an obstacle. They are sick, they cannot do anymore that job. But so many great acharyas have shown us that despite being sick, they continue on their mission, irrespective of where they are coming from. When you look at Mother Teresa, small tiny woman but such a great personality, she has talked about so many heart problems that she has had. That did not stop her from doing her job. She wanted to help people, she did it despite her own sicknesses. You take the case of great Ramana Maharishi, who is from the south of India, not so far away from here he lived. He had cancer. Yes, it is a disease that consumes the body, no problem. One day we all have to die, and so one day something will consume our body, if not disease, it is age. But that did not prevent him from giving his discourses and doing his sadhana, doing his help to the poor people and other things. He continued in this manner. So, where did the obstacles go for these people? When we get mild fever, mild headache, we quit our actions for the day. Oh, we do not want to go to class, we do not want to go to school. Whereas these people with such great illnesses, they were doing. That is because they were people who realized themselves, their self, and when that happens, the self drives our actions, not the prakriti. When the matter side of the body drives our action, all the obstacles will start manifesting. Even if it is not there, we will create obstacles. Whereas when the actions are driven by the self, that which is inside us, it comes from a deep place in our heart. Nothing will stop that person. Nothing will stop that person. Many times when I ask people why lot of people apply to our center to do programs, teacher training program we want to do, sir, or we want to do this, we want to do this course, we want to do that. They show enthusiasm and then suddenly at one point they stop. They say, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. They don't pick up the phone, or they disappear, or they write an email saying, sorry, we cannot come. You inquire what happened. Oh, these obstacles, sir, this came up and that came up. Oh, I could not find a flight ticket. It was too complicated, sir. The plane was going from New York to Frankfurt and Frankfurt to Delhi and Delhi to Chennai. So complicated, we cannot go. But when you look at some of the old people who were studying, who were searching for knowledge, they had none of the flights, they had to walk. And I look at my own grandfather, Acharya Krishnamacharya, he traveled to the Himalayas to study from the south of India at a time where there was no flights, there were not so many trains, there were not so many buses. Many of the journey he had to do was by walking or on a back of the donkey or a horse. In those days, whatever they were using, sometimes there would be short trains from one city to another, but then after that they had to continue. Sometimes I can imagine it would have taken a few weeks, few months to even get from one place to another. Plus, he did not know whether this teacher would even be there, whether this teacher would accept him, what will be the curriculum of the training, how long the training will last, how much the training will cost. Nothing he knew. He could have gone all that distance and the teacher could have said, sorry, I cannot teach you, I don't accept you as a student. It's very possible. In those days the teachers were capable of doing that. Whereas today we don't come to a seminar or we don't come to a teacher training. Why? Because you did not email me the timetable, so I didn't know what you were doing, what you are going to do. Oh, I don't find accommodation, I don't know if this accommodation is good, I don't know if that accommodation is good. We create obstacles because our mind is not willing to try hard to overcome whatever will come in the way. If this obstacle is not there, something else will come. That is life. You know, if in India when the tree is not falling, you may have a cow in the street which is just sleeping and is refusing to move, or there will be an auto rickshaw driver who is fighting with somebody else, so you will have to find another way. We have so many obstacles that are coming. Very easy to give up, and that is what Patanjali says. When you have realized yourself, the actions come from a deeper place, and when it comes from the deeper place, nothing actually will seem like an obstacle. Nothing will seem like an obstacle, it will seem like an opportunity. It will seem like an opportunity. I remember hearing one very wise monk I met many years ago telling me that, I said, you know, we are building a lot of walls. What should we do? I said, because you know, the whole world is building a lot of walls. Walls is not to be taken literally, it's to be taken metaphorically. Boundaries, religious boundaries, gender boundaries, job boundaries. In India we have caste boundaries and all these kind of things, age boundaries. And his monk said, you know, when somebody builds a wall, just climb it and cross and keep going. This is what is the concept of antaraya abhava. It doesn't mean that there will be no more obstacles. The obstacle will feel as if it's a walk-through wall. You just keep walking, because some power inside you will drive you to overcome that obstacle. That power is the power of consciousness. In English, sometimes we use the word willpower. We use the word willpower. But please remember, there is a difference between willpower and stubbornness. Willpower comes from self-realization. It will help you to walk through the wall. Stubbornness comes from lack of knowledge, avidya, that is not going to help you walk through the wall, but is going to make you bang your head repeatedly against the wall. That is the difference between stubbornness and willpower. With willpower, you will no more see obstacle. With stubbornness, you will keep banging against the wall again and again. Only you will get hurt. Your head will get hurt. Nothing will happen to the wall. At some point, you will collapse. Whereas with self-realization, through Ishvara Pranidhana, the wall collapses, not you. You keep going on. So that is why Patanjali is saying, practice Ishvara Pranidhana through mantra japa, so that not only you will have self-realization, but you will overcome all obstacles. Among the greatest thing that prevents us from our spiritual journey is our own self-made obstacles. We always find excuses. When we have to go inside ourselves, we have to face ourselves. We have a lot of problems. Nobody in this world is without problems. Nobody in this world is perfect. So when we are actually going through the process of spiritual transformation, we have to face ourselves in the mirror. Now, when we spoke about self-realization, it is to face ourselves in the mirror. But the mirror is going to show who you are. Suppose you have some black spots in the head, it will show you black spots in the head. Suppose you have some cut marks in your body, it is going to show that. It is not going to introduce new things. Are you willing to see that? So, we are not, we are afraid what the spiritual process will reveal. So, we create obstacles in one form or the other. Oh, the teacher is not good. The teacher is abusive. Oh, he is making suffering for me. Oh, it's too far. Oh, I don't speak Sanskrit so well. My body is not flexible. I am too old for this. I have to make breakfast for my husband. We give all kinds of excuses so that we don't engage in the process. Patanjali says all those are your own creations, and you have to be ashamed that you are creating these obstacles, because by creating that, you are only losing out, which is you are not understanding who you are, you are not having a spiritual realization of yourself. So, you are the loser, not anybody else. So, break through these obstacles, and what will help you break through these obstacles is what is called mantra japa, especially focused on the Ishvara Pranidhana concept. So, this is what is the sutra tataha pratyakchetana adhigamaha api antaraya abhavaha